As the title of this video suggests, this is going to be a bit of a rant. It's kind of outside of what I normally do on this channel, but hey, that didn't stop me from making the Attack on Titan videos. Besides, I have a feeling this subject will resonate with a lot of people. So, dating apps kind of suck. I know, not exactly a groundbreaking revelation, but it's one I've only recently experienced firsthand. I dabbled with dating apps a bit back in 2019, but nothing really came of it. Then the pandemic hit, which put all my social interactions on the back burner, not that I had many to begin with. But starting last year, I decided I should try to actually find someone, and so I began using the various dating apps fairly diligently. And after almost a year, I have basically nothing to show for it. I'd like to start by defending a certain thing guys do on dating apps. No, I'm not going to defend the guys who send dick pics, or the guys who call women nasty names after being turned down, or the guys who ask for sex right out of the gate with all the subtlety and grace of a hippo on ice skates. All of those behaviors are unacceptable and counterproductive, and the fact that I even have to say that is a sad indictment on humanity. But another thing guys will often do is like and message everyone they can, and it's not because they're shallow. Well, okay, maybe it is for the guys who just want a one-night stand. But for those of us who want something that's at least a little more substantive, we do it not because we want to, but because the apps actively push us to do it. I can only speak from my own experience, but I'm willing to bet that it reflects the experience of many men on these apps. So you've signed onto the app, you've filled out your profile, and now you start looking at other people's profiles. You look at the pictures to see if they're pretty, but you also look at the rest of their profile to see what their hobbies are, how far away they are, whether or not they want kids, what their political and religious beliefs are, if they have any cute pets, and so on. You then swipe right on the ones that seem like they'd be compatible with you, and swipe left on the ones that don't. But after some time has passed, you notice that nothing seems to be happening. You get very few matches, and most of the matches you get don't respond to your messages. Your only feedback is silence. So you start lowering your standards. You extend the range, you become more open-minded about different hobbies and interests they might have, but again, you get little to no responses. This cycle repeats itself a few times, until eventually you say fuck it, and you just start liking and messaging everyone you can in the hopes that someone, anyone will respond, will give you a chance, will acknowledge your existence. Modern dating apps suck for both men and women, though for very different reasons. As one online post put it, a woman drowning in the middle of the ocean and a man dying of thirst in the middle of a desert are going to have very different opinions on the value of water. But coming from my admittedly biased and subjective perspective, I do think men have it worse when it comes to dating apps. In my recent video on the Ukraine bundle, I explained how I tried every game in the bundle, and of the 550 games I tried, only about 30 ended up being games I enjoyed. To get to the handful of games I liked, I had to wade through a lot of mediocre garbage. And it was a long, exhausting, and sometimes frustrating process. But in the end, it was an interesting journey, and ultimately I do think it was worth it to find the special gems. Similarly, while getting flooded with a bunch of messages from men can be a bit overwhelming and annoying, especially since lots of them will be weird or creepy, it still gives you something to work with. And it is possible to sift through them and maybe find at least a few gems. Silence gives you nothing to work with. Worst of all, silence gives you no indication of what the problem is. You have no idea if your profile sucks, or if women are too picky, or if the algorithms are sabotaging you, or if it's just pure bad luck. Of course, the real culprit is the apps themselves. A lot of manosphere grifters will say that only a small percentage of men on dating apps get the bulk of attention from women, and technically they're right. But it's not because women are shallow and picky, it's because there are many more men than women on these apps. And the men tend to be more active on the apps than women. I'm not saying women can't be shallow and picky, obviously some of them are, but it would be inaccurate to assume all women are when the real problem is just math. The reality is that if these apps would do a better job of moderating and eliminating the bots, scammers, and creeps, and worked harder to keep the ratio of men to women around 50-50, they might actually be worthwhile. But that assumes that these apps actually want to help people find dates and happy relationships when they clearly don't. Setting up a system that is actually conducive to healthy human interactions would require more time and effort, and wouldn't be quite as lucrative as just monetizing people's loneliness, and most especially the loneliness of men. So they'll dangle the prospect of getting laid or getting a girlfriend just out of reach, which encourages desperate men to spend money in the hopes of increasing their chances at least a little, and keep trying hoping that maybe this time it'll be different. So no, the problem isn't that women are too picky. As with many things in society, the real problem is capitalism, more specifically the fact that profit is prioritized over human well-being, with human well-being often being sacrificed in the name of profit. So what's the solution? Well, first of all, I would say don't use these apps at all, but if you decide to use them anyway, don't give them a single penny. This will limit how much you can use the app, but that's a good thing, and paying for more features will only give you a false sense of hope. Beyond that, I don't know what the solution is. I'm still trying to figure it out. The reality is that humans are social and sexual creatures, and if those needs aren't met, it can make us really miserable. It really sucks that finding a romantic and/or sexual partner is so difficult in the modern world, and I think that's another thing that makes these apps so frustrating. In theory, they should make the process of finding a partner easier, but in practice, for most people, they just don't. So yeah, dating apps suck, and I would not recommend them. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Depending on how well this video does, I might make a part 2 where I go into more detail about some of my experiences and what led to me giving up on these apps. Anyways, I hope you're having a good day, and I will hopefully see you in the next one.